This is The Feed, York Region's only news magazine dedicated to the issues, events, and stories that matter to all of us who live and work here.
October 7th, 2023, one of the darkest days in recent history. On this day, the terrorist group Hamas launched a deadly surprise attack on Israel, targeting concertgoers and men, women, and children living nearby, killing close to 1,200 people and kidnapping at least 240. Some hostages have been released. Many, though, have died at the hands of their captors. It's estimated that close to 100 hostages are still alive. The fighting continues, but so does the hope. The hope that there will be an end to the Israel-Hamas war and that the remaining hostages will finally be set free. I want to bring in a very special guest. Her name is Maureen Leshem. Her cousin Romi Gonen, just 24 years old, was kidnapped by Hamas while she was attending a music festival in Israel almost a year ago. Maureen, it takes a tremendous amount of courage for you to share your thoughts publicly about this incredibly difficult situation. Thank you for agreeing to talk to us about Romi.
Thank you for having me here.
How are you feeling right now as we move ever closer to the 1-year mark this coming Monday, October the 7th? What's going on in your heart?
It is incredibly hard to reconcile that a year has almost passed. The weight of that day still feels so fresh, as if, the shock and the grief and the confusion and the fear, the uncertainty of everything hasn't left us. I know that many people say that, with time things move forward, but the pain is still there. We feel it in our bones.
And it isn't over yet. That must be so challenging for you and your family, for Romi's loved ones as well. How do you deal with that day and night? So October 7th fundamentally changed how I view my role in the world. I already understood the importance of advocating and the importance of advocacy, but I think that day crystallized it for me even more. I did not anticipate so much hatred towards the Jewish people, and I did not anticipate that we would not have the support of the world. So I am determined to, I have this sense of belonging and responsibility to continue to advocate, because we're still in the thick of it. Yes, we are. You are Romi's cousin. Tell us about her. What is she like? What are the qualities that she possesses that you believe will help keep her going?
Romi is an incredibly vibrant young lady. She's got 4 siblings. She's actually right in the middle, 2 older and 2 younger. She's often described as the glue that sticks the family together. She was a nurse in the Army, and upon her release, she went to South America for 6 months. She returned back to Israel to work as a waitress in order to save more money to travel because she loves life. She loves to be amongst friends. She's very feisty. She's very funny. A very, very talented dancer who on October 7th went with several friends to a music festival like so many Canadian young adults have done. And her whole life just upended, and we need her to come home so she can continue to contribute light and kindness into this world.
Some of the hostages have been released. Have they talked publicly or to you, your family, about Romi? Did they have any interaction with her?
So there was information that we received back in November from the last set of released hostages of other hostages that were with her in a tunnel. At that point, she had not received any medical attention to her gunshot wound to her hand that she sustained on the morning that she was abducted. We know that Romi is alive. The family is not saying much, including to myself, anything else aside from that they know for a fact that she's alive and they've given information that she is alive. We know that she was on 4 lists to come home. But that's all.
Maureen, what went through your mind, your heart? Again, I mean, they're connected, and this is what we're talking about right now. When it was announced on September the 1st that 6 of the hostages had been found brutally murdered by Hamas, what did you think at that point?
The news shattered us in ways that it's impossible to put into words. I know myself, I've been deeply grieving these 6 hostages. I happen to have a connection to 2 of them. Carmel Gutt and Alex Lebanov, both those hostages have families in Canada that I am friends with. So I've gotten to know these hostages, not meeting them in person, but getting to know their spirit. So, these were innocent people that were held against their will, who should never have been kidnapped, who should have been returned already, and instead for 11 months they were tortured and tormented and then brutally massacred by a terrorist group. There's immense anger that goes along with it, anger at the senselessness of it all. It should not have happened.
The media spotlight has now expanded to include the increasing conflict in the Middle East. Does it worry you that the pressure to have the hostages released, including Romi, is lessening in intensity?
Of course. I mean, any time that the spotlight is not on the hostages, there's that fear that, is the world forgetting about the hostages? And even the media themselves, for the last year, I've given so many interviews and so many times I'm censored. There's so many things that, is not shared that I'd like to talk about. So even fighting the media, trying to get them to share the story of the hostages is so crucial to us. And that's why interviews, like the one that you're doing right now, is so critical. It's so critical to getting these hostages home so people do not forget that they need our voice. They need us to continue to speak up for them.
What are you doing every day, every waking moment, every single day? What are you doing to bring the remaining hostages home, including, of course, your cousin Romi?
Every single person that I speak to, I try to tell them about Romi, and not just Romi. One thing I should mention, that every single family in Israel that has a hostage family member in captivity, they are advocating for all hostages. So I try to advocate for Romi and all the hostages wherever I can speak, whoever I can speak to, posting on social media, sharing stories about them all is something that I do every single day.
What can we do to help?
Believe us. I think as Canadians, it is very, very important that Canadians understand that the typical Canadian understands that Israel is a democratic country. And just like Canada, if this can happen in Israel, this can happen anywhere. And we don't really have to look far to see the hate and rhetoric that is, and the violence that is on our street. The York Regional Police just unfolded a terror attack. So if this can happen in a democratic country like Israel, this can happen here in Canada. And I also implore all of our so-called Canadian leaders to do more. They have a responsibility and a moral obligation. This is a humanitarian issue. And just like they would want other countries to help Canada, when Canada is in the same type of need, we have to do the same thing for these innocent hostages.
What does it mean to you that police services around the GTA and beyond, including York Regional Police, have released plans to protect and prevent when it comes to hate crimes and anti-Semitism issues that are dealing with probably 24/7, but in the lead up to October the 7th? What does that say to you?
That it's here.
Yeah.
That it's here. And it's right at our doorstep. What more proof do we need that we as Canadians have to take terrorism very, very seriously?
If Romi could hear you now, what would you say to her?
Sorry. That would be the first thing that I say. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that she was forced into this nightmare. I'm sorry that she's had to endure unimaginable fear and pain. I'm sorry that we haven't been able to bring her home yet. It's just absolutely heartbreaking, beyond words, to know what she's been living through. I would tell her that she is loved, not only by her family, but by hundreds of thousands of people around the world that have never even met her. And above all, I would tell her to hold on, that we're doing everything we can and we're not going to stop. No matter what it takes, we are going to bring her home. She is not forgotten, and she will never, ever be left behind.
Thank you, Maureen. If you missed any part of the feed, please go to 1059theregion.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And don't forget to follow 1059 on X and Instagram. I'm Ann Rohmer. Thank you so much for listening.